to get into the Green Berets, to become a Green Beret, can you kind of talk us through the phases, like an overview of the phases for that, and tell us maybe like what was the hardest phase for you?
So yeah, going through the 18 X-ray prep course was very difficult, and when I actually got to selection, it was tough, and we lost a lot of guys, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be
Mm-hmm.
because the X-ray course prepared us for selection. Team week did exactly what it's supposed to do. It crushed us, but that's what they do. I mean, that's what happens in team week is you get a glimpse of operating on an ODA under extremely harsh conditions, with weights on your back that you never thought was even possible,
Mm-hmm.
and moving objects that it's not physically possible to do it. And then you figure out how to do it because you got 12 guys working together, or you don't, and you fail. But then, once I got selected, starting to move through the Q course, I would say, small unit tactics was a ball buster. It was very challenging. I learned a lot, but man, you learn a lot with no sleep, constantly moving,
Mm-hmm.
weights of excess of 90 to 120 pounds on your back all the time. And
Crazy.
you're just moving through the North Carolina, woods, and set up ambush here. All right. Recock, set up ambush here. All right. Recock, set up ambush. And so it was very extremely challenging. But I finished SET, and then I moved on to SEER school, and that is what it is. It's difficult, but I'll just kind of leave it at that. From SEER school, moved on to language, and language is it's relaxing, but you can fail super quick because
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we're not pounding the crap out of you here, but you still got to learn a whole nother language, depending on the group you're going to, and if you don't learn this language, it's not the physical thing that's going to take you out of this course. It's the academic part of it.
It's like a mental haze fest. Were you guys at the Defense Language Institute?
We were at the Fort Bragg language labs.
Oh, okay, you
So
guys got okay. Cool.
yeah. And then I moved on to MOS phase where, I was an 18 Charlie in engineer. So lots of demo and learning how to blow things up and stuff like that. And it's a extremely academic course because of all demolition theory, the calculations, and everything like that. From there, Robin Sage. Robin Sage is the cumulative exercise that it spans multiple states, and so all these states are basically turned into these fictitious countries where one country's at war with another country, and it's kind of crazy because it looks actually what's going on in Ukraine right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the Ukrainian country, and I think they call it like Limnadia or something. I don't know. But anyways, this fictitious country, or Russia, is done a full-scale invasion, and now we are inserted in behind enemy lines, linking up with a guerrilla unit to do a resistance or an insurgency or whatever, to do A, B, C, D, or E, all circled around unconventional warfare. It's why Green Berets are probably the best in the world at unconventional warfare. So Robin Sage, and that's not only is it ball buster because we infilled in a blizzard. Our canteens were frozen, and you got 110 plus pounds on your back, and we moved. I think our infill point was like 15, 20 kilometers away. So it is. It's a smoke session, but it's all circled around unconventional warfare because you're doing this link up. If you go back to October 2001 and you look at some of the interviews with Green Berets that infiltrated Afghanistan to link up with the Northern Alliance, most of them all say somewhere in an interview, it was just like Robin Sage. It's crazy. Robin Sage is super realistic. Like there was parts where, I mean, because you're tired. I mean, there was multiple times where you were going days without food because if you can't figure out how to get it supplied to you as a unit, well, you're not going to do it in war either. When you're actually needing to do it. And there was times when I was looking there and I was like, is this for real? Like, this is really happening. And it's such an amazing exercise. I think it's actually probably the best exercise out of all the military. I don't think there's another exercise that can touch on the aspects that Robin Sage does. True. I mean, your bosun's mate doesn't need to go to Robin Sage, but when you're looking at, special operations and infiltrating into a country to set up a guerrilla resistance or start an insurgency or anything like that, Robin Sage is it. That's the cream of the crop. And so, yeah, I mean, after that, then, you go through graduation, you get ready to move on to your group and then figure out your battalion and your company and then your ODA. But I would say the most difficult part of special forces training as a whole is, I mean, yeah, there was times that I was just like, wow, how does the human body do this? But overall, it wasn't that difficult. What gets people the most is so long. And you're constantly being assessed and you're constantly the new guy. Like you've not done shit. This is your first time, once you start a new phase, you're the new guy all over again. You haven't done shit. You're never going to do shit. You won't ever be shit. And you're just like, what is going on, man? And the longevity of the course, 14, 15 months plus, if you're a Delta, you're looking at 2+ years of just training, assessment. A lot of guys, it's the mental aspect of that breaks a lot of people. So, for example, my selection class, we started off with 405 guys. It was an October selection class, and I remember they had to get rid of some dudes, so it came all the way down to the packing list, and it's like, 3 pairs of socks, not 5. You're gone,
Wow.
Just to shave off those last dudes. So by the end of selection, there was 55 of us that got selected. Out of the 55 of us that got selected, 18 of us graduated the Q course.
Oh, wow.
So,
really?
Yeah. So it's definitely, now a lot of guys go to selection and the Q course. And that's the reason why, there's a lot of students always in the training pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looks like there's a lot of people graduating, but these are all different. Like they all come at different times. And, so like Robin Sage class, I was meeting up with guys that had been in the Q course for over 2 years. Just, either it was injury or they'd get recycled through a phase or something like that. And even in Robin Sage, when you're like, I got it, man. I did it. This is it. I'm there. A lot of guys get dropped there. A lot of guys do. And in the end, they could, and I've seen it. NTRs, never to return from Robin Sage, because you're just not what we're looking for. And it's like, couldn't you have told me that 2 years ago? I just wasted 2 years of my life, and, but it's the harsh reality of it. So I think the hardest part of the Q course for me was the mental mind games, the mental aspect of, you can get dropped at any time, and it doesn't matter how far you are in the course. We don't care. You could be on the last day of Robin Sage when your instructor brings you in one by one to tell you how you did. And, oh, by the way, are you gonna pass? Are you getting recycled, or are you getting dropped to return at a later date, or are you getting dropped to never return? And that's at the very end. You're like, I've just done it all. I had a friend that got NTR'd, and it's like he never even went to selection, and he did the entire Q course.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it happens.
That'd be a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're like the Deltas, the medics that go through like the extensive, super extensive training.
Yep. Yeah. And that's just what's crazy is it happens so much. Like, I'm mind blown. Now, this was when I went through, and I'm not saying I'm this OG or anything like that, but I've heard it changed a lot. I've heard that it's not as easy to get rid of guys now as it was. But again, I don't know because I'm not there. That's just hearsay.